Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter and Steven. Say what up, Steven.
Hey guys.
We are back, this time doing another Precon upgrade to the Murders at Karlov Manor deck. This is the Deep Clue Sea. We've already seen Steven's $100 upgrade to that deck. If you guys haven't already seen it, check the description down below where you'll find a link to that video. But this is the bigger, the badder edition. That's the $300 edition. So before we get started into all your awesome new additions, Steven, talk to me about the face commander that you're sticking with for this deck and also kind of what the deck wants to do.
Yeah, so I am going to go ahead and stick with Morska here. It is big and bad. I mean, there's so much card draw in this deck. There's so much token generation. You are making so many clues and just artifact tokens. You just don't know what to do with yourself. It was really fun, playtesting it, and then it was super fun playing in our $100 upgrade battle. Yeah, I mean, this was really fun. I just couldn't think about going with anything else other than Morska.
Yeah, Morska was really mean. I'm very excited to see what you do with this $300 additions. So let's go ahead and get started. Talk to me. What are we adding into the deck?
Yeah. So before we get into the additions for the $300 upgrade, Hunter, I am keeping all of the additions from the $100 upgrade. They were really fun. I did draw a lot of them during my $100 battle, and it made it really fun. So I just wanted to keep them all.
Got it, man. I like that. Well, go ahead and tell me these new additions.
Yeah, let's talk about the big, the bad, the beautiful. Oko, Thief of Crowns. This is going to be the first card I threw in here. This is one, a green and a blue for a legendary Planeswalker Oko. It starts off with 4 loyalty, and then it has 3 loyalty abilities. First one's going to be +2, create a food token, which is always fun for us because we can always use artifact tokens. The +1 says target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with base power and toughness 3/3. Crazy enough, that is a plus, which is shocking. This card continues to surprise me that it's not banned, but it's still really good. And the -5 says exchange control of target artifact or creature you control and target creature and opponent controls with power 3 or less. I don't think anyone's really looking at the -5 here. The +2 is good, but the +1 is right where we want it.
Yeah, there's a reason Oko was banned in Standard, and it's currently banned in Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Explorer, Historic, and Brawl.
I noticed you didn't say Commander.
It is not banned in Commander, but let me tell you, there's a reason it's banned in all those. This card is incredible. I can see why you're throwing it in here. That is the Planeswalker that's going to the deck. What are some other creatures that are going in here?
Yeah, so obviously we are making a ton of historic permanents, and one thing that I kind of loved from the Doctor Who set was a Displaced Dinosaurs. Really fun card. So this is 5 and 2 green for a 7/7 creature dinosaur. It says as a historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, it becomes a 7/7 dinosaur creature in addition to its other types. I really love this because it's not something you have to cast. This is just an ETB. So with Morska generating us, clues when we're drawing cards and pretty much everything else in our deck that makes us clues, this is going to be insane. It was a really fun card. Hunter, you actually threw this one at me. So greatly appreciate hopefully taking you down with it.
Yeah, this card's nuts. The amount of token production you have that are in the artifact variety in this deck, like Academy Manufacturer, is going to make you 3 7/7s. That's nuts.
Yeah, this is going to be a immediate removal for sure. Next up, we have Esper Sentinel because when you're drawing cards, you can't not have this card in your deck. This is 1 white for an artifact creature human soldier. It's a 1/1. And whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X, where X is Esper Sentinel's power. So we do have some fun stuff to pump up our creatures in this deck. So, paying the 1, as people like to say, might be 2 or 3 or 4.
This is one of those cards that I'm really hoping gets a reprint in Modern Horizons 3. Creeping up in price still, but it's so worth it. Great card.
Yes, it is very worth it. I really do hope it gets a reprint. I would like to get one soon. Creeping into the 30s, slowly in the 40s. And I think if it does get a reprint, hopefully it'll go down. Next up, when I was talking about pumping up our creatures here, we have a really interesting card that I found. Illustrious Wanderglyph. This is 4 and a white for an artifact creature golem. It's a 2/2 and it has Ascend. If you don't know what Ascend is, basically it is kind of like, getting the city's blessing. So you do need 10 or more permanents on the battlefield. This is including your lands. Once you get to that point, you will have the city's blessing for the rest of the game. But this does also say other artifact creatures you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the city's blessing. And then at the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. This deck has a lot of fun things you can do with artifacts, with Urza for such, or some other fun little things that we have in the deck. Plus, making 1/1s that are technically going to be 3/3s in the future. It's pretty good. And the last creature I'm throwing in is going to be Seedborn Muse. This is 3 and 2 green for a creature spirit. It's a 2/4. And you get to untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. So, with us basically making a small army with these creatures, and when I say small, I mean a very large army, I can feel free to swing in and not, feel bad about hopefully getting cracked back.
Yeah, man, I like all these creatures that you've added into the deck. I'm already kind of afraid. But let's keep going. Talk to me about what artifacts you're throwing in.
Well, I'm throwing in an artifact to get rid of artifacts. Funny enough, now that I say that out loud, it's actually pretty interesting. So, Kruk Clan Ironworks is here. We have a 4-mana artifact. It says sacrifice an artifact, add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool. This was a card I wasn't sure if I was going to put in, but after playing the 100 and seeing how many artifacts I was making, whether it was in one turn or over the course of your guys' turns, uh, I just decided if I had so many big things in my hand and I could only play like maybe one or two, and this is really going to help me get some things out.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Your deck makes an insane amount of artifacts very quickly. I can see you're just going to be using them as mana. So it's going to be even better.
Oh yeah.
Okay, if that's the only artifact, let's move on to the enchantment section. I see you got 3 here.
Yep, I did add 3 artifacts. First one up here is Defense of the Heart. This is 3 and a green. During your upkeep, if one of your opponents controls 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defense of the Heart. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards and put those creatures into play. Shuffle your library afterward. Defense of the Heart is a really interesting card because I think it plays 2 sorts of ways. Either you play this card and your opponents decide to not play a bunch of creatures, and that's good for you because then maybe you don't get attacked for so much, or your opponents just don't care, and then you get to go search for your win cons, and it's really, really amazing. And I hope that's what happens to me.
I can see that. I don't hope it happens for you.
Next up, we are a card draw deck in blue as well. So Ristic Study is here. This is 2 in a blue. Whenever an opponent plays a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Hunter, do you pay the 1?
More likely than not, no.
Yep, and that's why I love this card. Most of the time, people are not paying their taxes, and card draw does win games, and that's God, it just makes me so happy.
Card draw does win games. Ristic Study is a must for anything that's running blue.
And the last enchantment I'm adding is going to be a card from David's deck, actually, the Nelly Borga deck. This is Trouble in Paris. This is 2 and 2 white. It says if an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. It also says whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. So just a lot going on here, obviously, but what you're not doing is you're not taking an extra turn.
That's for sure. Yeah, I like this card a lot. That second clause there, you're probably drawing a card quite often.
And that is the name of the game, card draw. I want it. I'm going to have it, whether you like it or not.
And to wrap things up, looks like you did change the land base a little bit. What do we got?
I did add 4 lands, so the first one I added is going to be Bark Channel Pathway. I have the other pathway in the deck, so this one just kind of made sense. And then I also added all 3 of my colors for the shock lands. So we have Breeding Pool, Hallowed Fountain, and Temple Garden. These all enter the battlefield tapped unless you pay 2 life, hence the shock value there. Breeding Pool will tap for a green or a blue, Hallowed Fountain for a white or a blue, and Temple Garden for a green or a white.
Yeah, makes sense. Upgrading the land base is one of the first things you should do when it comes to a precon. And these are fantastic lands. But is that going to do it? Is that all of your additions for this $300 upgrade?
Yeah, those are all the additions. There was a lot of fun cards you can add to this. With what we have going on here and what we added to the 100, just kind of like refining it to a certain degree, I think really helped it out.
For sure. But let's get on to your cuts because we've added a bunch of new cards. What are the cards we are removing out of the deck to make room?
So I am going to keep the same cuts from the $100. We'll go ahead and throw that up really quickly. Uh, going to go ahead and add to that. So here we have first up is going to be Aerial Extortionist. This is going to be 3 and 2 white for a creature, bird, soldier. It's a 4/3, and it also has flying. And then whenever it enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, exile up to one target non-land permanent. For as long as that card remains exiled, its owner may cast it. And then whenever another player casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. This was a fun card. It's just really expensive. I understand the evasion with the flying is really nicely, and then exiling when it enters and deals combat. At most, this is really just a 5 mana 4/3 with flying. When it comes down, I get to remove something, and then my opponent just gets to play it again, and hopefully I get to draw a card. So a little slow, didn't really care for it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a stutter effect that doesn't completely get rid of something. So for 5 mana, you're doing better things.
I also got rid of Hydroid Krasis. This is X, a blue and a green for a creature jellyfish Hydra Beast. It's a 0/0, but it says whenever you cast a spell, you gain half X life and draw half X cards rounded down each time. It also has Flying Trample, and that it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Really fun card. I really do enjoy this card, to be honest with you. I just don't want to sink a ton of mana into this in order for me to get any sort of payoff. There's enough card draw in this deck to where I don't really need. I just didn't need it, I guess.
Yeah, if you don't need it, get rid of it.
It's gone. Also getting ready to a pretty fun card here. So Cabot Cannoneer, this is 5 and a blue. It has Improvise, so artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1. It also has Ward 4, which is solid. And then whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Cabot Cannoneer, and it can't be blocked this turn. Starts off as a 4/4. You know, Hunter, I actually really do enjoy this card. I just think it's a kind of a selfish card. It really just cares about itself. And we're just trying to win as a team in this band deck that we're playing. And Kappa Cannoneer, I need you to be more of a team player. Maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
Merchant of Truth is up next. This is 2 and 2 white for a 2/5 creature angel detective. This is a creature with flying, and then whenever a non-token creature you control dies, investigate, and clues you control have exalted. Speaking of being selfish, if you don't know what exalted is, it says whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each instance of exalted among permanents you control. I don't want to just swing with one thing. I want to swing with them all. And the last creature I'm getting rid of is going to be Psychosis Crawler. This is going to be 5 mana for a Star artifact creature Phyrexian Horror. Psychosis Crawler's power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your hand, and then whenever you draw a card, each opponent loses 1 life. I don't have anything bad to say about this card. I just didn't really need it in the deck, and it didn't fit. And my mama told me if I didn't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all.
Yeah, sometimes it just doesn't fit in the final build. It's probably one of those cards you thought really strongly about, but in the end, it just didn't make it. But we did see one artifact being added into the deck as Kark Clan Ironworks. What are we removing to make room for that?
Yep, so I got rid of Nettlesis. This is 3 mana for an artifact equipment. It also says Living Weapon, so when this equipment enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 black Phyrexian Germ creature token, then attach this to it. It also states that the equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control, and then it has an equip cost of 2. So this is a fun card, but regardless of anything, this still does not give trample. So a 1/1 will block my billion each time, and just did not really care for that knowledge at all.
Sorry about it. You still can't get through. Yeah, you'll have to do a little more to make Dental Assist a little better. Moving on to the enchantments once again, we added 3. I see 3 removed.
Yep, first one on the chopping block is Knowledge is Power. This is 3, a white and a blue. It says creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards you've drawn this turn. This is a super powerful card in this deck because you are drawing a lot. But what I've come to notice is it doesn't matter whether my creatures are big or small because I'm going to have so many of them, just overwhelm the board. Just wanted to make some other stuff fit. Some other stuff was really cool. So yeah, Knowledge's Power is gone. Next up, I got rid of On the Trail. This is 1 and a green. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. This card's actually pretty fun. I do enjoy it. I just don't think it fits very well in this deck. I did find a lot of the time I'd never really had another land in my hand for this to help me out in most of my playtesting. So it didn't really make sense to keep it in. If you're playing like a lands deck, this is your go-to each time. And the last enchantment I'm going to be getting rid of is going to be Ongoing Investigation. This is 1 and a blue. And then whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, investigate. Then you can also pay 1 and a green, exile a creature card from your graveyard, investigate, you gain 2 life. Also, just kind of like learning from the $100 game and some other playtesting, I never really had a creature in my graveyard. The deck was just building a ton of clues and just kind of go, like blasting off from there. And I think I really only used this maybe once or twice. And each other time I just said, maybe I'll invest the mana somewhere else.
Yeah, you've got other ways to make clues. Well, you could just take one of them out. But I can see why you cut all of these enchantments. You're making your deck a little bit more spicy. But rounding it out, we did see 4 lands added. What are the lands that are being taken out?
Yep. First up, I got rid of Croson Verge. This enters the battlefield tap, which is never fun, unless that land has cycling abilities. I kept those in my deck. But this one's gone. This one did not have those. You can tap it to add a colorless, or you can pay 2, tap it, sack it. Search your library for a forest card and a plains card, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. Might as well just have Myriad Landscape in my deck because it's way better,
You love that card, but I am just going to let you keep going.
Next up, I got rid of Path of Ancestry. This enters the battlefield tapped as well, so it's definitely gone. And then you add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When that mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, scry 1. This deck has not a lot of kindred synergy, so I didn't really understand why Path of Ancestry was in this. Obviously, if you go with the secondary commander, you can make like a dog detective deck. But yeah, that was not for me whatsoever. So this land was gone. I also got rid of Spire of Industry. This taps for a colorless, or you can pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color, activate only if you control an artifact. We will have lots of artifacts, obviously, but just in case. I also wanted something that didn't hurt me. Who wants pain?
Yeah, I just imagine you get a little farewell and they say all artifacts are gone, and then Spire of Industry doesn't tap for any colors anymore.
And the last land I got rid of was the land that is always in my starting hand. This is Temple of the False God. This says tap, add 2 colorless mana, activate only if you control 5 or more lands.
Yeah, I think we all got rid of Temple of the False God. Always in every precon, it's always coming out for us.
Yeah, funny enough, I'm surprised I didn't cut it for my 100, but I think definitely if you're playing a higher power game, you definitely don't want to see this in your opening hand.
Well, that's going to do it, right? Is that your entire deck?
That is my entire upgrade.
All right. Once again, if you guys wanted to see this deck list, take a look in the description. You will find a link to our Moxfield account. Playtest it. Try it yourself. I'm sure it's a lot of fun. It looks very terrifying. But before we finish up, Steven, we have that one question we always ask all of us. We've given you $300 to build this deck. What is the total amount of money you spent on all of these additions?
Hunter, I spent $303.45.
Big old cheater. Going over budget.
Always. It's my favorite.
But I'll give it to you. It's only $3. So, hey, maybe some of these cards will come down.
Yeah, I think some of them might come down. A lot of the cards I added were from this set too, so I hope that that helps the price go down. Hopefully, after pricing pre-release stuff, all that magic fun stuff.
Prices will fluctuate a little bit. Well, hopefully it'll bring it down underneath $300. Either way, you still did good. To wrap things up, Steven, do you have any final thoughts on this commander and this deck itself?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you and all of our subscribers and watchers, I hated this deck. I really did not want to upgrade it. I really wanted Recon. I love Demir. It's my favorite color type. But you know, Hunter gave me a challenge to do something I'm not used to, and damn, did I surprise myself, and did this deck surprise me as well. The amount of card draw you can pump into a single deck is insane, and the things you can do with all the artifact production is nuts. I highly recommend this deck, and I actually do think this is probably the better of the four.
You heard it here first, folks. He hated this deck, and now he absolutely loves it. That's what we do around here. We make decks better. So go ahead and pick this up if you want it, because trust me, this one is a mean one. But that is going to do it for us today. If you guys liked this video, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because what are you waiting for? We're putting up awesome content like this all the time. You don't want to miss out. And in the description, you will find links to our Instagram, our TikTok, and our Twitter. That is at Guys at Magic for each one. Follow us on those two to keep up to date with everything else that we got going on. And on the screen right now, that's right, you see all these beautiful names. Those are our Patreon subscribers. So if you're watching and you're already subscribed to our Patreon, thank you so much. And if you wanted to join this list of names, check the description to our Patreon account where you'll find bonus content. You can even see this entire deck list just listed out if you guys didn't want to just see just the card images and a bunch of other cool stuff. So also link in the description down below. And until the next video, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Bye.